Chosen ones, listen to me carefully. This is not another video you clicked by accident. This is not background noise, not coincidence, not an algorithm guessing your interests. This is a message from God, reaching you in precise divine alignment. Something inside you already knew this before I said it. You felt it in the pause before you pressed play. You felt it in that quiet pull that would not let you scroll past. That is not imagination. That is recognition. You are here because you are the chosen one, and your spirit knows when truth is speaking directly to it. Let me say this plainly, with clarity and authority. You were called. Not recently, not casually, and not because you asked loudly. You were called long before you understood the language of spiritual awakening, long before you could explain why your life never followed a simple path, long before you learned the words divine calling or spiritual clarity. God marked you early, and because of that, your journey has been intense, confusing, isolating, and sacred all at once. What others glide through, you wrestle with. What others accept easily, you question deeply. That is not weakness. That is the signature of the chosen one. This message is arriving now because God is about to answer a question you have been carrying for years. Not a surface question you say out loud, but the one you whisper internally when no one is listening. The question that shaped your prayers, your silence, your frustration, and even your doubt. You asked it in different forms. Sometimes it sounded like, "Why am I like this?" Sometimes it sounded like, "When will it change?" Sometimes it sounded like, "What am I really here for?" That question never left you, because it was never meant to. It was planted as part of your divine calling, and now the season of response has arrived. Your spiritual awakening has not been gentle, and it was never meant to be. Awakening for the chosen one is disruptive. It strips illusions, removes false attachments, and forces you to see beyond comfort. That is why the war has felt real. You have felt resistance, both external and internal. You have felt moments of deep clarity followed by seasons of fog. You have felt like you were standing between worlds, no longer fitting where you came from, but not fully arrived where you are going. That is not failure. That is transition, and transition always intensifies before it resolves. Hear this clearly. God has not been silent. God has been strategic. The delay was not punishment. The waiting was not neglect. It was alignment. Certain answers cannot be released until the chosen one is strong enough to carry them without losing themselves. You have been prepared through pressure, through isolation, through questions that forced you inward. That is why this message from God lands with weight now. You are ready to hear it, not just emotionally but spiritually. Right now, spiritual clarity is beginning to descend. You may already feel it as a strange calm, a sense that something is shifting even if nothing external has changed yet. That calm is not passive. It is authority settling into place. It is your spirit recognizing that the season of confusion is closing. The answer you have been waiting for is not coming to overwhelm you. It is coming to align you. It will not take your power away. It will activate it. If you feel this alignment in your spirit, if something in you is saying, "This is for me," pause for a moment and comment, 777. Not as superstition, not as ritual, but as recognition. Recognition that this message from God is meeting you exactly where you are. Recognition that you are not alone, not mistaken, and not late. You are on time. Let me remind you of something important. The war you have felt is real. It was not imagined, exaggerated, or self-created. Light always attracts resistance, and your light is necessary. That is why it has been challenged. That is why your mind has been tested. That is why your faith has been refined. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to see clearly, speak truthfully, and walk with awareness. That is the burden and the blessing of the chosen one. As we move forward, remember where this began. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the pull. You were called. Your spiritual awakening is valid. Your divine calling is active, and the answer you have asked for is closer than you think. Stay present. Stay open. Let the clarity continue to rise. And if this touched your soul, if something deep inside you knows this was meant for you, comment 111, because you know it now. You were called. The question you have been carrying. There is a question you have been carrying for a long time, and you have carried it so quietly that even the people closest to you may not know it exists. This is not the kind of question you casually speak out loud. It lives beneath your prayers, beneath your patience, beneath your attempts to stay strong. It is the question that shaped your life without ever fully revealing itself. And I need you to hear this clearly from the beginning. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the weight of this question. You did not create it out of fear or insecurity. You were called, and the calling always comes with a question before it comes with clarity. For the chosen one, life does not ask simple questions. It asks foundational ones, questions about purpose, identity, timing, and meaning. You may have asked God for different things over the years, but beneath all of them, there has been one central question repeating itself in different forms. Sometimes it sounded like confusion. Sometimes it sounded like frustration. Sometimes it sounded like silence. But it was always there. Why am I here? Why does my path feel so heavy? Why do I feel set apart even when I try to blend in? Why does it seem like I see more, feel more, and endure more than others? This is not random. This is the signature of the chosen one. The reason this question has stayed with you for so long is because it was never meant to be answered quickly. Quick answers satisfy curiosity, but they do not shape destiny. God does not rush answers for those with a divine calling, because the answer itself becomes part of the responsibility. If it had come too early, you would not have known how to hold it. You would have tried to use it to escape pain instead of stepping into purpose. So the question stayed, not as punishment, but as preparation. This is where spiritual awakening begins to feel uncomfortable, because awakening does not remove questions at first. It intensifies them. You may have noticed that the more aware you became, the heavier the question felt. As your spiritual awakening deepened, surface distractions stopped working. Things that once numbed you lost their power. Comfort stopped feeling comforting. Silence became louder. This is because awakening strips away false answers before real ones arrive. God removes what no longer fits so you can feel the shape of what is coming. That pressure you felt was not confusion increasing. It was clarity trying to break through layers that had to be dismantled first. This is why chosen ones experience prolonged waiting, not because God favors others more, but because the assignment is different. Ordinary paths allow for ordinary timing, but a divine calling requires alignment at deeper levels. Your character, your perception, your resilience, and your discernment had to mature. Silence was part of that training. Silence teaches you to listen beyond noise. Delay teaches you to trust beyond emotion. And confusion teaches you to seek truth instead of comfort. The question you carried was shaping you even when you thought nothing was happening. It is important to understand the difference between silence and rejection. Rejection pushes you away. Silence draws you inward. Rejection closes doors. Silence prepares you to walk through one that cannot be closed. God's silence in your life was never absence. It was presence without explanation. And for the chosen one, that is one of the hardest tests, to keep believing without immediate answers, to keep walking without full clarity, to keep your heart open while your mind searches for understanding. That is not weakness. That is spiritual endurance. There were moments you wondered if the war was worth it. Moments you questioned whether your light was more burden than blessing. Moments you felt tired of being strong, tired of waiting, tired of feeling different. Those moments were real. The war is real. But hear this truth now. Your light is necessary. That is why it has been challenged. Darkness does not waste energy on what is insignificant. Resistance is not proof of failure. It is confirmation of impact. The very fact that you questioned so deeply means you were designed to carry something meaningful. God's message has been hidden within the delay itself. Every closed door refined your discernment. Every unanswered prayer strengthened your alignment. Every season of confusion trained you to recognize truth when it finally arrived. You were not being ignored. You were being built. And now the question you have been carrying is reaching the point where it can finally be answered without destroying what God has formed in you. That is why this moment feels different. That is why this message resonates instead of passing by. Circle back to the beginning and remember this. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the pattern. You were called. Your spiritual awakening was not accidental. Your divine calling has been active even when it felt dormant. The war was real, and you survived it for a reason. Your light is necessary, and it is needed now more than ever. Expectation is replacing frustration. Alignment is replacing confusion. And the answer you have waited for is closer than it has ever been. If this touched your soul, comment 111 because you know it now. You are called. Why the answer could not come sooner. There is a truth the chosen one must eventually face, and it is not always comfortable at first, but it is deeply liberating once it settles. The reason the answer could not come sooner was never because God was unwilling. It was because you were becoming someone new. This is a message from God, and it comes to correct a quiet belief you may have carried without realizing it. The belief that maybe you were overlooked, delayed unfairly, or tested beyond reason. That belief was born from human urgency, not divine reality. God never withholds to punish. God withholds to protect. For the chosen one, timing is not about speed. It is about safety, stability, and alignment. Certain answers are not just information, they are responsibility. They shift identity, direction, and authority. If they arrive before the soul is ready, they do not bless, they overwhelm. What you once begged for would have broken you in the version of yourself that existed back then. Not because you were weak, but because you were unfinished. God does not release weight to a foundation that is still forming. You wanted clarity, but clarity requires vision. You wanted direction, but direction requires discernment. You wanted movement, but movement requires grounding. Every delay was shaping these capacities within you. While it felt like nothing was happening, everything was happening beneath the surface. This is where spiritual awakening often confuses the mind. Awakening removes illusions before it installs truth. It creates a gap between who you were and who you are becoming. That gap feels like waiting, but it is actually transformation. Human urgency asks, why not now? Divine timing asks, will this destroy or develop? You were spared from answers that would have amplified ego, fear, or dependency. You were spared from paths that would have given results without depth. God was not preparing the blessing alone. God was preparing you to carry it without losing yourself. That is love, even when it does not feel gentle. That is protection disguised as delay. Your identity had to evolve before the answer could arrive. Early versions of you searched for validation outside. You questioned your worth through outcomes. You measured progress by comparison. Those patterns could not coexist with the answer you were asking for. The divine calling does not survive insecurity. It requires inner authority. So life pressed you. Silence stretched you. Confusion humbled you, not to break you, but to root you. When identity stabilizes, answers no longer control you. They serve you. Your perception also had to mature. In the beginning, you would have misread the answer. You would have misunderstood its purpose. You would have chased its surface benefits instead of its deeper meaning. God was refining your vision so you could see clearly, not emotionally. Spiritual clarity forms slowly, like eyesight adjusting to light after darkness. At first, clarity feels blinding. Only later does it feel empowering. That adjustment period was necessary. Spiritual authority is not given. It is built. It forms through endurance, integrity, and obedience when no one is watching. The war you felt was part of that construction. You were learning to stand without applause, to believe without evidence, to remain aligned without reassurance. These are not small lessons. These are the requirements of the chosen one promise, and they cannot be rushed. You were never behind. You were never forgotten. You were never being tested for amusement. You were being prepared for sustainability. God answers prayers in ways that last, not ways that impress temporarily. The confusion you endured was shaping discernment. The pressure you faced was strengthening resilience. The silence was training intimacy with God rather than dependence on outcomes. Spiritual clarity has been forming beneath everything you thought was chaos. It was invisible, because growth often is. Roots grow in darkness before anything appears above ground. Now you are beginning to see patterns make sense. You are beginning to feel less desperate and more grounded. That is the sign that readiness is near. The chosen one promise unfolds invisibly before it ever becomes visible. Circle back to the beginning and anchor yourself here. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the delay. You were called. The war was real because the assignment is real. Your light is necessary, and that is why it was protected until you could carry it with wisdom instead of urgency. You are stronger now, clearer now, more aligned now. The answer did not come sooner because you were becoming someone who could receive it without being consumed by it. If this touched your soul, comment 111. Because you know it now. You were called. The answer is beginning to reveal itself. Something has shifted, even if you cannot fully explain it yet. That is how divine answers begin, not with noise, but with a quiet rearranging inside the soul. This is a message from God, and it is important that you hear this with clarity. You are not imagining this sense of movement. You are not projecting hope where there is none. You were called, and when answers begin to approach, the spirit feels it before the mind can define it. What you are sensing now is not coincidence. It is alignment. God rarely answers all at once. For the chosen one, answers unfold gradually before they arrive suddenly. First comes awareness, then confirmation, then manifestation. Many miss the early stages because they are looking only for visible change, but God begins internally because lasting breakthroughs are built from the inside out. The long-awaited breakthrough you have prayed for is already in motion, even if the external world has not caught up yet. You may notice that your reactions are changing. Things that once triggered anxiety no longer have the same grip. Situations that once confused you now feel easier to read. There is a calm discernment forming. a steady sense of knowing that was not there before. This is spiritual awakening, sharpening perception. You are seeing more clearly because the fog is lifting. God's message becomes clearer as your nervous urgency fades and spiritual authority takes its place. One of the first signs that the answer is revealing itself is inner peace without explanation. Not happiness, not excitement, but peace. Peace that does not depend on circumstances. Peace that arrives quietly and stays. That peace is confirmation. It is the soul recognizing truth before proof appears. The chosen one often receives confirmation internally before anything shifts externally. This is not delay. This is sequencing. You may also notice that certain doors are closing without struggle. Opportunities that once tempted you no longer feel aligned. Relationships that drained you begin to fade naturally. This is not loss. This is clarity. When the answer approaches, misalignment becomes uncomfortable. God removes distractions gently now because you are ready to let them go without fear. That readiness is evidence of growth. Another sign is heightened discernment. You are no longer drawn to noise. You can sense intention beneath words. You can feel when something is forced versus guided. This is not judgment. This is maturity. Your spiritual awakening has trained you to listen beneath the surface. That skill is essential for what comes next. The divine calling requires clear perception, not emotional reaction. Do not underestimate small confirmations. A sentence that stays with you. A repeated theme appearing in different places. A sudden understanding that resolves an old question. God often speaks in patterns before events. When patterns align, movement follows. You are not waiting anymore. You are witnessing the early stages of fulfillment. It is also important to understand that answers often arrive differently than expected. God responds to the heart of the question, not always the form you imagined. You asked for relief, and God gave you strength. You asked for direction, and God refined your vision. You asked for purpose, and God reshaped your identity. Now the external expression can finally match the internal transformation. The long-awaited breakthrough does not announce itself loudly. It builds quietly, then arrives decisively. When it comes, it will feel natural, not shocking. That is how you will know it is real. There will be no need to chase, force, or convince. Alignment removes resistance. What is meant for you moves toward you without struggle once readiness is complete. Remember the war you endured. Remember the confusion, the waiting, the pressure. None of it was wasted. It trained you to recognize truth when it arrived. You are not fragile anymore. You are grounded. That is why the answer can now reveal itself safely. Your light is necessary, and now it is stable. Circle back to the beginning and anchor yourself in truth. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the shift. You were called. The war was real because the assignment is real. Your spiritual awakening has prepared you. Your divine calling is activating. The answer is no longer distant. It is unfolding now. If this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it. You were called. Stepping into alignment and readiness. What happens after confirmation is just as important as receiving it. Many people can feel a message, resonate with truth, and still hesitate at the threshold of alignment. But the chosen one is not called only to recognize truth. You are called to embody it. This is a message from God, and it is not arriving simply to comfort you. It is arriving to position you. You are not standing at the end of a journey. You are standing at the point where readiness becomes action and awareness becomes embodiment. Alignment is not a feeling you wait for. It is a decision you live from. For a long time, You were being prepared internally, shaped through pressure, refined through silence, and trained through discernment. Now the work shifts. The work becomes integration. This is where the chosen one learns to move without constant confirmation, to trust clarity without needing reassurance, and to walk forward without explaining themselves to everyone around them. You may notice that your tolerance for misalignment is lower now. Situations that once felt manageable now feel heavy. Conversations that once felt normal now feel draining. This is not judgment. This is calibration. Your spiritual awakening has adjusted your inner compass, and what no longer matches your frequency cannot remain comfortable. This is not loss. This is refinement, making space for what aligns with your divine calling. Readiness does not mean everything is perfect. It means you are anchored. It means your identity is no longer fragile. It means your peace is not easily stolen. God does not wait for perfect conditions. God waits for stable vessels. You have become more stable than you realize. You no longer collapse at every delay. You no longer panic at every unknown. You no longer abandon yourself to please what is not aligned. That is growth. And that growth signals readiness. The chosen one steps into alignment quietly. There is no need to announce transformation. No need to prove awakening. No need to convince others of your calling. Authority does not argue. It moves. When alignment is real, it simplifies your choices. You begin to choose what supports your clarity instead of what feeds your fear. You begin to honor your boundaries without guilt. You begin to trust your discernment even when it challenges old patterns. This is where responsibility increases, but so does peace. Responsibility does not mean burden. It means stewardship. You are learning to steward your energy, your focus, your time, and your voice. You are learning that not every opportunity is meant for you, and not every delay is an obstacle. Some delays are redirections. Some endings are protections. Some beginnings arrive quietly before they become obvious. God's message becomes practical here. Alignment shows up in daily decisions, not dramatic moments. It shows up in what you tolerate, what you release, and what you nurture. You may feel called to simplify, to slow down certain areas, to be more intentional with your environment. These are not random impulses. They are adjustments preparing you for sustainability. What is coming is not meant to burn you out. It is meant to support you. The war you fought taught you how to stand. Now alignment teaches you how to walk. Walking requires trust in balance, not tension. You do not need to brace for impact anymore. You are not under constant attack. The season has shifted. Awareness replaces defense. Discernment replaces anxiety. Presence replaces urgency. This is what it feels like when the chosen one moves from survival into embodiment. Your light does not need to be aggressive. It needs to be consistent. Consistency is what makes light reliable. People will feel it before you speak. Opportunities will recognize it before you chase them. The divine calling responds to integrity, not intensity. You have learned restraint, patience, and inner authority. Those qualities are what allow the next chapter to unfold without chaos. There may still be moments of uncertainty. That does not mean alignment is lost. It means growth is ongoing. Even aligned paths require trust. Even awakened lives include mystery. The difference now is that uncertainty does not destabilize you. It invites you deeper. You no longer interpret not knowing as failure. You recognize it as space for guidance to enter. Circle back to the beginning and ground yourself again. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the shift. You were called. The war was real, but it was not meant to last forever. Your light is necessary, and now it is grounded enough to be released without distortion. You are stepping into alignment, not as someone searching for permission, but as someone ready to steward what has been entrusted to them. If this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it now, you were called. Conclusion: this is your confirmation. This is where everything comes together, and it is important that you hear this slowly and clearly. This is a message from God. Not inspiration, not motivation, not imagination. You are not making meaning out of randomness. You are not reaching for comfort because you are tired. You were called. And this moment is confirmation. The waiting season you have endured is closing, and clarity is replacing confusion in ways that will soon become undeniable. You have spent years asking, wondering, trusting, doubting, standing back up, and choosing faith again, even when nothing around you made sense. That alone proves who you are. The chosen one is not defined by ease, but by endurance. You stayed sensitive in a world that tried to harden you. You stayed searching in a season that offered easy distractions. You stayed aligned even when alignment felt lonely. That was not accidental. That was spiritual awakening shaping you quietly while life tested you loudly. Now hear this without fear. God is not about to answer you the way your anxiety once demanded. God is about to answer you the way your destiny requires. The divine answer will come with peace, not panic, with grounding, not chaos, with clarity, not confusion. You no longer need to rush it, force it, or chase it. What is aligned does not need to be hunted. It arrives when readiness and timing meet. You may have thought the waiting meant you were doing something wrong. You may have wondered if you missed your moment, chose the wrong path, or misunderstood your divine calling. Let those thoughts go now. They belong to a version of you that was still forming. You are not that person anymore. You have grown in discernment. You have matured in awareness. Your spiritual clarity is no longer fragile. It is steady, and that steadiness is what allows fulfillment to finally land. Trust does not mean closing your eyes. It means opening them without fear. Trust means knowing that even if the answer looks different than expected, it will feel right when it arrives. The chosen one promise does not break alignment to surprise you. It fulfills alignment to empower you. When it unfolds, it will not take your peace away. It will expand it. The war you survived was real. The resistance was real. The confusion was real. But so was the protection. So was the preparation. So was the hand of God guiding you through seasons you did not understand at the time. Your light is necessary, and that is why it was refined, not rushed. Necessary light must be stable before it is released, otherwise it burns itself out. Clarity is now your gift. Not loud clarity, not dramatic clarity, but grounded clarity. The kind that allows you to move without constantly second-guessing yourself. The kind that lets you say no without guilt and yes without fear. The kind that makes space for peace even before everything makes sense. That clarity is evidence that the internal work is complete. From this place forward, walk without panic. Expect without desperation. Prepare without obsession. You do not need to announce what is coming. You only need to stay aligned with who you are. The divine calling does not require performance. It requires presence, and you are present now in a way you were not before. Circle back to the beginning and anchor this truth deep within you. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the shift. You were called. The war was real because the assignment is real. Your light is not optional. It is needed, and it is ready. The season of questioning is giving way to the season of confirmation. If you feel aligned with this moment, if something in you knows you are stepping into readiness, comment 777 now, not as superstition, but as acknowledgement. A quiet agreement between you and God that you are prepared for what comes next. And if this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it now without needing proof. You were called.